is thinking.
I'm dedicated to it. I can't be stopped.
All right, in the wind, Happy Jackson is still alive. We got Jasmine Red on with a horror story. Jasmine, thank you for being brave. This happened a long time ago, and you're identifying the cruelty, the satanic scum of the FBI, the Bureau of Land Management, who keep spending tens of $millions saving horses they call Mustangs that are not Mustangs, every word out of their mouth. We could dedicate thousands of hours, and I'm going to, but I just got word, and I'm going to go into details in a minute because your story is far more important. That's what they did to me in Alaska for shooting a black bear with a bow and arrow during the bow and arrow season, during the bear season, and the legal area of Prince of Wales. That's what they did, lawfare. That's what they did to Donald Trump, and they raided Mar-a-Lago. You FBI punks out there, you Bureau of Land Management punks, you Department of the Interior punks, you're all a bunch of soulless little sheep. When somebody tells you to do something that violates your constitutional oath, stand up and say, no, I'm not going to do that. If they told me to shoot Vicky Weaver, Lon Horiachi, I would have stood up and went, wait a minute, you want me to do what? I'm not doing it. You know why they do it, Jasmine? For the cheap, petty soullessness of their pensions. Let me talk to the FBI agents out there, not Kash Patel. Hopefully he's cleaning house. Let me talk to the IRS. Let me talk to the FDA and the USDA. Let me talk to the EPA and the Department of the Interior. And isn't it interesting? Black Lives Matter is the same BLM as Black Lives Matter, Bureau of Land Management, because they're terrorist organizations. Let me speak in the bureaucrat language to these soulless, oath-violating punks. Bah. Bah. Jasmine, tell us the horror, increased horror of these agents lying with false accusations that they knew were false accusations, like they did to Donald Trump, like they did to me, like they did to Chris Brackett. We just got a finding in Michigan that the DNR is suing me for years, costing me tens of thousands of dollars to prove that my pigs are not feral, Russian, or boars. Finally, the judge went, well, wait a minute, they're not feral, they're on the game preserve. Wait a minute, they're not Russian. There's no such thing as a Russian boar except a male pig that lives in Russia. Finally, there was an indicator that somebody in a black robe might have a conscience. The court system has no conscience. Blindly obedient FBI and bureaucrat organizations, ATF, you soulless little pricks. There was nothing going wrong at Brant Davidian until you showed up and burned him to death. Vicky Weaver's dead because the ATF tried to sell him a shotgun that was 1/8 of an inch too short. How on God's green earth could that possibly matter? How could that little bead possibly matter to intentionally and viciously and cruelly attack a good family, a good doctor, and drive him so crazy that he killed himself? Jasmine, I'm sorry. I've been a loudmouth son of a bitch all my life, but there's not been enough of me. There's not been enough of me pushing back. If you're not pushing back, Nancy Pelosi would like to thank you for her $500 million bank account. Jasmine,
and they're all
continue. We're going to have this whole segment. You are establishing that the FBI, the Bureau of Land Management, punk ass Robert Mueller, carrying on like Janet Reno and Louis Freeh and James Comey and Christopher Wray. You FBI, you are soulless, oath-violating, treasonous punks. And that's what they did to your dad. So they wouldn't let him go to the bathroom and wipe himself. These are satanic, oath-violating, America-destroying, evil people. And I dare them to come on my show and try to make their case. They can't make their case. Their case is evil. They're jackbooted thuggery. The court system celebrates rape and murder and child molestation, and they cover up for the child sex trafficking of Barack Obama and his cocaine buddy Mike, and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. These are evil, satanic people, and they tried to ruin your life. Number one, they didn't ruin your life because in the name of your good father, Dr. James Redd, you are carrying on. And like my heroes that I will meet with today of the U.S. Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Navy SEALs, the Coast Guard, the Marines, I meet with them again today. Some of them biking with no legs. They gave up their legs because George Bush sent them on an evil money-making, Halliburton financing illegal war. I could go on, and I'm really good at going on, but Jasmine Red, your story is not unique. There are people's lives ruined because they had the wrong tag on the wrong deer. That was their crime. And while they ruin people's lives for having the wrong tag and the wrong deer, they take our tax dollars to slaughter thousands of deer with USDA hunters, and thousands are killed by crop depredation permits, but they're going to destroy a guy's life because of one deer. So you're not alone. So after they harassed your dad and they took him down to the jail and booked him, he pled not guilty. Did they keep him in the cage? Your dad, who was revered, he was a pillar of society. People loved your dad. And then did they let him out of that cage?
Yeah, they let him out that day, and while he's pleading not guilty, neighbors could see with binoculars several federal agents with assault weapons on my father's roof, resting next to the chimneys for hours and hours, not moving. At the time, it was unknown why they were on our roof. Later, Dan Love, he clarified that he sent them on the roof to wait for my brother Javelin to drive down the road. My brother had called and he said, "Don't touch my animals. I'm coming for them." They were waiting with assault weapons on our roof, and they knew what my brother looked like, and they knew what he was driving. And they seized computers, they seized the artifacts listed in the search warrant, all except the white bird. When the feds departed, it was left sitting front and center, unnoticed, on the bottom shelf of my mother Jeannie's display case. Incredible. The feds did not even take this effigy bird pendant the day of the raid. The very item they were raiding our home for 11 and a half hours.
They're
was
liars.
In plain sight. Yeah, they didn't even know what it looked like. It was under their noses, and they left it behind. They had 80 agents at our home at one time, and throughout the day, there were a total of 140 federal agents that raided my parents' house. The other defendants in the case that were arrested that day, at most, had 10 to 12 agents in their homes. It appears that no other homes were searched for more than a few hours, and none of the defendants said that they were interrogated for more than a half an hour. Yet, as you will read, my dad, Dr. Red, he was interrogated in handcuffs for 3.5 hours. That night, after being released from police custody, my father returned to his home in Blanding. He left my family a recorded message that lasted about 40 minutes. In it, it reads, he describes how much he loves each of his children, and he speaks to each family member individually. While recording this last message to us, my father apologizes to his office manager because he didn't get all the dictation done on his patients the previous day. So just before he is about to leave this mortal world, my father, it's very telling that his main concern was that he had not completed the dictation on his patients' medical records. My father also speaks at great length about his love of and testimony of the restored gospel of Jesus Christ and the importance of keeping the commandments. He also mentions the government, and that with him gone, there will be one less charge to contend with. That one charge my dad, Dr. Red, is talking about is the false felony charge for the tiny little bead. After my dad returned home that evening, he went to the nursing home to check on his patients one last time before he left this world. Approximately 24 hours after the BLM FBI raided my father's home, his life came to an end. Dr. James Red is gone because of a false felony charge that the feds knowingly falsified, including the treatment he received at their hands that day. A few months after my father's death, in a meeting between Dan Love and my sister Jerica, Dan Love asks how the family was doing. She politely replied, "We are not doing well." Dan Love proudly stated, "I know why your mom hates me. I'm the reason your dad is gone." My sister asked Dan Love why he thinks my father did what he did. Dan Love's response was, "I think he took one for the team." During another meeting between Dan Love at our home, he received a phone call. After hanging up, he made the comment to my sister that it was a secret informant, Ted Gardner. He said Ted was complaining and asking for more money. Dan Love and Ted Gardner, two of the main people responsible for the untimely death of my father, they are discussing the exchange of money for the actions against my dad. As Dan Love was leaving our home one day, he gave my nephew, Jerica's 3-year-old son, Sebastian, a child's BLM badge, and he said to him, "Call me Uncle Dan." Sebastian idolized his grandfather, and the guy responsible for his death is telling him to call him Uncle Dan. During a 2-day discussion with Dan Love and others at the BLM office in Salt Lake, my sister noticed maps and photos of the artifact defendants on the walls. As she sat down, she noticed another map with a photo on the floor that had appeared to have been pulled off the wall. She saw that picture was of our father. The picture on the ground was of our father, and she asked Dan Love why it was on the ground. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "Yeah, we need to get rid of that." Yet it was in the same spot the very next day. According to the Unified Police report, the informant Ted Gardner told his friend, "I feel guilty for killing 2 people. One of those was Dr. Red. The other one was another defendant, Stephen Schrader, who shot himself a few days after Ted said this. He had a shootout with local police and he put a bullet in his head." Why would an undercover informant who supposedly was doing his job to properly rid the U.S. of evil underground criminals, why would he feel guilty for the actions of those caught in secret, illegal underground activity?
Jasmine, hang on.
Yes.
We're going to be right back. This is so fascinating. Thank you for being strong.